Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Obsidian Anubis, and I'm back with another 9th Age battle report. And this time it's Vulknur's Horde, aka Empire of Sunstall, versus Saurian Ancients. So I had a weekend to myself, so I decided that I'd throw some dice and throw some figures on the board and just do a one-on-one versus myself. So I did a 3,000 point battle of Empire versus Saurian Ancients. Here's what the battlefield looks like. You can see we have 4 impassable terrains, 2 forests, and then a hill. And then for my secondary objective, I did 3 gold tokens. Two of them were worth 200 victory points, one is worth 300 victory points, and they randomly got selected to different pieces of terrain. And then because this is Vulknur's Horde, which is a bestial kind of Empire of Sunstall, and I did take a prelate of Vulknur, I had to generate some new blessings, so I made up the blessings of Vulknur. So there's the blessing of the wolf on the far left. So the target gains swift stride for charges, overruns, and pursuits. There's the blessing of the bear. Target gains frost attacks, which act the same as flaming attacks. And then all enemy units in base contact with one or more targets suffer D6, strength 4, armor penetration 1, frost attacks. And then finally, blessing of the raven. The unit gains distracting. So I also generated my own spell list for the Vulknur because I had a ice wizard. So he picked Ice Blade and Hoarfrost, and because he was a Empire wizard, he also was well learned and took Know Thy Enemy from Divination. So Ice Blade, those who look at it will recognize it as being the same version of Flame Blade, or I think that's what it's called in Pyromancy. So the lore of ice magic is the same as Pyromancy, with just different names, and instead of everything being flaming attacks, does frost attacks. So basically, you could still use this as a path of pyromancy. I'm just calling it ice magic. Alright, so let's look at the Hordes of Vulknur. So on the far right, I have 4 hunting hounds with a hunting master. That is a kind of special unit which I allowed for this game. To the left of the boulder is my 20 Imperial Guard with full command, and with them is Vasily. He is my wizard adept. He is the magical heirloom. He has light armor and the alchemist alloy. To the left of them, I have 10 electoral cavalry with great weapons and full command. And to the left of them, I have 35 heavy infantry with halberds and the banner of unity. And in with that unit of halberdiers, I have Finnick. He is a marshal and he has the winter's cloak because it is very appropriate. To the left of them, I have 15 light infantry with crossbows and they have the marksman pennant. And then to the left of them, I have 10 state militia with pistols. And then behind them, I have 23 flagellants with great weapons. And with them is my general, Kivan Rus. He is a prelate of Vulknur. He is the Imperial Seal and a great weapon. And on the very far left, I have 5 raiders with brace of pistols and heavy armor. Alright, and then let's look at my other army. So for my Saurian Ancient army, I have 3 Ramphadon riders with shields on the far left, and then a group of 10 skink hunters with blowpipes in the woods. For this battle, we did the attacker-defender, so the lizardmen were the attacker, so they can come up on the sides and kind of go down in the middle, and the Empire was the opposite. I had 2 blocks of 25 Saurus warriors with the Jaguar totem, which you can see at the very bottom, the base of the screen, the 2 Jaguars. And then with the unit on the right, I have my general, Kale. He is a Saurus veteran. He is the Hero's Heart and Serrated Scales, which gives him 6 attacks at strength 5. 4 of them are armor piercing 3, 2 of them are armor piercing 2. So not too bad. And then over here on the right side, I have 26 skink braves with the tree frog banner, and with them is Kikoa. He is a skink priest. He's on the palanquin. He is the heirloom staff and the talisman of the void, and is rocking path of shamanism. And then to the right of them, I have 10 more skink hunters with blowpipes, and on the far right of this picture, 3 more Ramphadons with shields hiding behind the hills. So here's the spells that the skink Kaokoa got. So he had Spark Creation, Swarm of Insects, Awaken the Beast, and Savage Fury. Alright, so here's an overview of what the board looks like. You can see a gold coin just in front of this yellow skinks in the forest, and then another one at the hill kind of towards the top right of this picture. The 3rd gold coin is on the top left large rock. Here's the small gold icon next to the hunting hounds. That is the prey scent for the Ramphadons. So the Empire of Sunstal, or Vulknur's Horde, dropped their entire army first, so they got first turn. So Vulknur's Horde, turn 1. Alright, so no charges. I just kind of moved up relatively aggressively, I think. Um, yeah, on the left side, my readers just kind of moved around so they couldn't be charged by the Ramphadons. And on the right side, I moved my hounds a little close to the Ramphadons to give them a potential bait charge, and then kind of just left them so they would maybe run away. In Magic, I drew Flux card number 7, and I failed terribly at Magic. I think I failed to cast my first spell without. I think I rolled like 3. I didn't roll 3 2s, but I rolled terrible. So it didn't go off, and I didn't roll any 1s, so I didn't get the fizzle. So then I stopped the other 2 spells that I could cast this turn. In shooting phase, the crossbowmen shot at the purple skink hunters and killed 5 of them. They failed the panic test and decided to start fleeing towards the board. You'll notice that the Saurian Ancient army does not have a BSB. I risked it with the smaller point size. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient turn 1. So I do as I do best for Saurian Ancients is I moved up chaff to start making problems for myself. So at the very bottom of this picture, the teal and gray Ramphadons charged the hunting hounds, which fled and got away. You can see the skinks moved up to chaff the knights, and I then also brought up the 2 blocks of Saurus warriors to countercharge should the knights decide to charge. I also brought the skinks up just a little bit, and then the skinks also rallied. The 5 that were shot at last turn, they rallied and moved up, which I think is actually a mistake at this point. I don't think I could have moved them because they should have been shaken. I didn't see anything in Light Troops saying that they don't have to take shaken tests, or they're not considered shaken. So if anybody can clarify for me, that'd be great. So Magic phase, I got Flux card number 5, and I managed to get off Spark of Creation and Awaken the Beast off. Spark of Creation, I think, was thrown off at the crossbowman and managed to kill 2. Awaken the Beast was put on the orange Saurus warriors in case I decided to charge them with my halberdiers. So that brings us to Vulknur's Horde turn 2. So I actually kind of pulled back a little bit. I actually charged these yellow skinks with the Imperial Guard, who had the wizard, to kind of clear them, and then actually moved both the halberdiers and the knights backwards. I didn't really want to get charged, because then I'd just get charged by Saurus warriors, and that was not going to end well. On the left side of this, I moved up the readers to start shooting at the skinks that I rallied last turn, and then moved the militia with pistols just to kind of get out of the way. And then moved the flagellants around with my general to start kind of getting a flank charge possible. In Magic phase, I got Flux card number 5, and managed to get Ice Blade off on the Imperial Guard with the wizard. And then I got Snowball off, sort of. This is the Blaze spell for Pyromancy. I guess this spell technically shouldn't have gone off because my wizard's unit was in combat. But since the spell goes off automatically when the other one is cast, I went ahead and let it. But it's since been clarified that this spell doesn't go off if your wizard is in combat, which I think maybe should be changed. Maybe get rid of missile so you can cast it in combat. Because I mean, if you get another spell off, you should still get the attribute. But anyways. So that brings us to shooting. The crossbowmen shot at this skink braves and managed to peel off 7 of them. And then in close combat over here, yeah, the Imperial Guard managed to kill 6 of the skinks without losing any in the return, and broke, and then decided not to chase. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient turn 2. So over here on the left side, not too much. So I charged the militia with the 3 purple Ramphadons. They fled through the skink braves and lost 6 of their number, and there's just 4 of them now left on the other side fleeing. And then the Ramphadons just failed their charge. On the right side of this board, I couldn't charge with the Saurus warriors into the knights because the skinks that had fled last turn were right in their way, so they couldn't do anything. Actually, I stand corrected. I believe the purple unit of Saurus warriors charged the Imperial Guard, but the yellow-orange ones that you can see at the top right of this picture could not charge because they were being chaffed by their own skinks. So in Magic phase, I managed to get Flux card number 3, and got both Spark of Creation and Swarm of Insects off on the flagellants, and managed to kill, it looks like, about 9 of them. So that was really good. I kept trying to dispel the spells, but I just was rolling terrible for dispelling. Yeah, so in close combat, the purple Saurus Warriors did make that charge. Looks like I lost 4 Saurus Warriors as well as 4 Imperial Guard. Um, I think Saurus Warriors caused more damage, but the Imperial Guard stuck. So that brings us to Vulknur's Horde turn 3. So in turn 3, I charged the Knights into the flank of the purple Saurus Warriors. I moved up the Warhounds to try to act as chaff, even though the Ramphrodons are flying. And then I think I did a long ball fail charge of the Temple Guard into, of the Flagellants into the Skink Braves, which I failed. In Magic Phase, I got Flux card number 4 and managed to get Know Thy Enemy off on the Knights, I believe. In Shooting Phase, the 3 Pistoliers managed to kill off those last remaining purple hunters and turn to face the Ramphrodons. And then in close combat, over here, it looks like I killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 of the purple Saurus Warriors and lost 1 Knight and 2 Imperial Guard. Unfortunately, this turn I did remember to allocate attacks towards the Wizard and did manage to kill the Ice Wizard, so no more Ice Magic for this game. The Saurus Warriors actually broke from this combat, and both of the units gave chase, and both of them did not catch it. So this is how things looked like at the end of turn 3 for the Empire of Sunstall. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient turn 3. So I charged the Ramphrodons and the Skink Braves into the front and rear of the Flagellants, and then also managed to rally my purple Saurus Warriors, and then used these 4 remaining yellow Skinks to just chaff up the Halberdiers. I also charged the Ramphrodons into the War Dogs just to get rid of them. So in Magic Phase, I got Flux card 7, and then managed to get Savage Fury off on the Skink Braves. In combat, the 3 Ramphrodons easily managed to kill the Warhounds before they even get a chance to strike. And then over here in this bloodbath, the Flagellants managed to put 3 wounds on the Ramphrodons, killing 1 and putting a wound on the other. And looks like killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Skink Braves. But however, in return, they did lose 10 of their number. So it looks like there's just 3 or 4 left, plus the Prelate. However, they are unbreakable, so we all stuck. So that brings us to Vulknur's Horde turn 4. So I went ahead and declared the charge with the Knights and the Imperial Guard into the same units of Saurus Warriors, because I could get them both into them, hoping that I would maybe break them and then I could overrun with the Imperial Guard into the purple Saurus Warriors. I went ahead and also charged the Halberdiers into the 4 Chaffing Skinks just to get rid of them. And then I don't think this picture shows it, but I think the Crossbowmen did a about turn to facing the right of this picture and started marching or moving towards the gold coin in the corner. In Magic Phase, I managed to get Flux card 6. I no longer have a Wizard, but I do still have a Prelate. So I threw 3 dice, or I used 3 dice to cast Blessing of the Raven, and I dispelled that, and then I threw 3 dice at the Blessing of the Bear, and my opponent dispelled that. So I threw the last 3 dice at Blessing of the Wolf, and that one got off. So in close combat, I managed to kill the remaining 3 Ramphrodons, as well as it looks like kill 1 Skink Brave. However, I did lose the rest of the Flagellants, so my Prelate was no longer unbreakable, but he did pass his break test. So that brings us to combat over here. I really did not do very well with the Knights. The Knights came in and I think killed 3 Saurus Warriors. In return, though, they lost 4 of their own. There is a Saurus veteran in that unit, so that is why he was able to tear through the armor pretty easily, but that did not go the way I was hoping. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient turn 4. So the purple Saurus Warriors charged in the front of the Imperial Guard, and the Ramphrodons charged in the rear of the Imperial Guard. And then in Magic Phase, I managed to get Flux card 8, and managed to get both Awaken the Beast and Savage Fury off on the yellow Saurus Warriors. In close combat over here, the Skinks couldn't do a single wound to the Prelate, and the Prelate managed to actually kill 2 of the Skinks. So the Skinks are steadfast, however, I rolled extremely high, even using a minimized roll, and without having a BSB broke. The prelate, because he had the Blessing of the Wolf, had Swift Stride, so he managed to catch them and wipe them out. So that is the end of the Saurian Ancient magic for this battle. In close combat over here, the Ramphrodons and Saurus Warriors managed to kill a total of, looks like, 6 Temple Guard, plus killed off the remaining 5 Knights, with only losing 2 in return. So it was an auto break for the Imperial Guard because they did not have a character to make them steadfast. I believe I pursued with everybody and did not catch them. So this is how things ended up at the end of combat. And I do apologize, I just kind of moved the dead figures off to the corners of the thing. So there's a lot of dead figures on this, which are really not here. I was just too lazy since I was just playing with myself to actually move them off the board. So that brings us to Vulknur's Horde turn 5. So in turn 5, at this point I really kind of conserved on just getting to the objectives without losing any more points. So the Halberdiers just made a beeline for the gold coin. You can see that on the bottom right, or the middle of the right. The crossbowmen on the top right are next to the other rock with a coin. And then the Pistoliers and Light Militia went up to basically chaff those units next turn. So in Saurian Ancient turn 5, the purple Saurus Warriors just made a hard left into the woods to capture that gold coin. And the Ramphrodons came around, as well as the yellow Saurus Warriors, just to kind of face the middle of the board. So that brings us to, well, technically it's Vulknur's Horde turn 6, but I don't have a picture of that. So Saurian Ancient turn 6. Basically what happened is the Ramphrodons charged the militia and killed and wiped out them. The the yellow Saurus Warriors charged the Readers, lost 1 of their number, and then wiped them out. And then neither of them could overrun and get anywhere else. So that is how the game ended. So the Empire, or Vulknur's Horde, had 2 gold coins. So they had a 2 and a 5, so they got plus 500 victory points to them. The Saurus Warriors only had 1 gold coin with 200 victory points. So when I ended up doing the math, it ended up being that the Empire had lost 2,017 with the additional 200 points, and the Saurian Ancients had lost 1,800 with the addition of the 200 points from, with the addition of the 500 points that the Empire had gotten through objectives. So that was a difference of only 210 points. However, because this was a 3,000 point battle instead of a 4,500, that was enough to make an 11-9 difference. So it is a minor Saurian Ancient victory. Yeah, it was really fun to just kind of do this little game by myself. Also, it takes a bit more time because I had to kind of set up both sides and move both sides, as well as try not to overthink or overanalyze, because if I do that, then I would never get anywhere, because I'll just be second-guessing literally myself. But it was really fun. I enjoyed it. Just got to kind of throw some models and some dice on the battlefield and see how they went. I also got to kind of just practice with the new rules, which I actually kind of highly recommend that everybody should, do, because the hotfix changed a lot of small, minor things that can easily be missed. So I would suggest people just play as many games as they can, and maybe even do a game against themselves, just so you have to look up both sides so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. But I actually may do more of these in the future, depending on how often I can get my partner to play with me. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. If you guys saw any mistakes, or if you guys could clarify that one question I had earlier, I'd really appreciate that. Yeah, hit like and subscribe, and as always, game on.